Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next installment of your Money Matters series. Today, we're talking on calendar-based spending and savings plan or budgeting. And I wanted to give just another minute or two to see if anyone else is coming in, but I don't want to belabor your time. So, go ahead and get started. Hope that everyone is well and that this series is of some help. You'll see in the lower left corner of the screen that this presentation is brought to you courtesy of the Duval County Extension Office, and the calendar that we use is also provided from University of Florida. Of course, a little bit about United Way, your partner of Northeast Florida, our mission and vision. And then we're also focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am your presenter, and a few of my credentials are here, so we won't have to repeat them every week. You all will be receiving a copy of our presentation. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The money management calendar, again, provided to us by the University of Florida, and each year they update it. And over a few years ago, they decided to add like the last 4 months of the previous year so that there's something you can carry over if you're not just so that you don't have to try to remember what took place the prior year. You've got something that you can mirror regarding the budget that you had for the year before. Of course, the inside cover gives you space for any important numbers that you may need. But then here, a statement from IFAS Extension. Hopes that you'll use this calendar to help better manage your money. For classes on budgeting, personal financial management, credit savings, we've done the Money in Tough Times, and they recommend a few others. You can contact them for class times and locations. If you'd like one-on-one assistance, that's also available. And you can simply request it through email, which is provided here. They also provide quite a few resources that will also help you. So building the spending and savings plan series, not just a one or two mentioned in workshops such as this. They have basic money management, even money and marriage. The Florida Saves program is a campaign to just encourage as many people, residents of Florida, to save. And then Power Pay, if you have large expenses that you want to pay down and you've been struggling to do so, they offer recommendations on how you can do it and which ones would best fit to allow you to make those plans until you find that you're debt-free. It may take a couple years or so, but it's worth trying if your goal is saving for a better future. So your planning cycle, I'm talking first about starting with setting your goals. You need to gather all the information that pertains to your finances, all of the income and expenses, and then write a plan. Of course, work the plan. And then because life always finds a way to throw a monkey wrench in the plans, as they say, you'll have to change it from time to time, but it's a continual cycle. Right? So starting with writing the plan, you need to know what your fixed expenses are, rent or mortgage, utilities, debt payments of any kind. And then what are your flexible expenses? And we kind of went over a little bit of this. So this is review from last week. Your food or groceries, what is your personal care, your clothes. Add the amount you intend to save for any goals, rainy day funds, special events and occasions. And then as you identify the annual totals, of those expenses, divide that by 12, or the amount that the number of months that you have remaining from now until the day that event occurs. And that should be the amount of money that you save until you're able to complete that goal. So here's just a little bit more detail from University of Florida on how to build a savings plan, a little bit more in-depth encouragement, a little bit more information to make it more relevant to all. But of course, you want to start by writing your smart goals. And of course, the goals need to be specific. What is the goal? How much will be needed? When do you start? So that you go from smart to from specific to measurable. When do you start? When will you need to have it by? So how many months is that in between? And then the amount that you save per month and the rank of importance. Is it important for you to buy that new dress for the summer versus getting your car repaired? What is your need versus your want? And then you put it in the rank. Next, you look at step 2, find out where the money is going. So record the expenses. And we kind of talked about something like this. And you'll see this, I actually did a slide that has that single sheet of paper with the dates. And then you put how much you actually spent under each day. And the 8th box could also just be the totals, but I just kind of draw a little line at the bottom of each box and I total, I just determine how much my total spent for each day is, and then bring it over to the calendar under the appropriate category. Is it groceries? How much did you spend on week 1, 2, 3, 4? And if there's a 5th week in that month, how much did you spend there? And then total it out. And then also calculate the totals that you spent just for the week. So if you bought groceries and didn't eat out, but you bought a lot of snacks, you are working from home, and you don't have to travel, so you didn't spend as much on gas, but you spent money on streaming services and you just had to pay for the latest release of a movie, separate from the streaming. Your personal haircuts and grooming, your rent, mortgage, et cetera. How much did you spend for the week, et cetera? And now you can kind of glance and see exactly where your money is going. Did you write checks or were they digital payments? Now we're using PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, and Venmo, and so many other things. So we also need to make sure we're tracking what we're spending electronically and digitally, as well as any written checks if anyone is still doing that. But you can't forget any cash payments that you spent out of pocket. So the important thing now is identify your income. Again, the Jerry Maguire catchphrase, show me the money. What is your salary or your wages? What benefits, tips, commissions, loan repayments from family? Maybe you hit the lottery or play bingo or something. I don't advocate gambling, but who knows how it comes in. You just need to identify it for yourself. What if you don't know how much it will be? We talked about that last week. Plan with what you know, and if it varies, use the average or the lowest amount. And then if you have a full calendar, the monthly income should be placed on page 4. Also from the calendar, list your monthly sources of income. So if you're paid bi-weekly or you've got 2 jobs, 1 full, 1 part-time, 1 gig economy, and then the part-time self-employment, are you receiving any type of supplement like child support or alimony, public assistance, food stamp, WIC, unemployment or disability, any Social Security income, retirement pension, money from relatives, investment income, or other, whatever you deem as other. Maybe you had a garage sale that went very well. All of those should be listed so that you can see a true real-time account of where your income is coming from. And then of course, know what bills you have and when they are due. So getting organized with those bills or expenses. You have the fixed ones that don't change, the flexible ones that can change, based on use, and the occasional ones, anniversaries and birth dates, holidays, weddings or vacations. Write it down. And here is a great chart on how to just simply separate those out. The fixed ones, rent a mortgage, if you're paying for a television streaming service or internet, do you pay separate for water and electricity and fuel? Cell phone bills, trying to think of what this might be. If you do audio books or Kindle, if that costs, whatever those services are. Are you now paying for your furniture and appliances? Do you have a loan for your car payment, credit cards, student loans, etc.? Are you paying childcare of any kind after school, or are you the person responsible for paying child support? Insurance is a must. Health insurance, life insurance, automobile insurance, home or homeowners or renters insurance. Is there any other type of insurance that you're paying? Some people have Aflac or some other type of supplemental, so that if you're hospitalized or you go to the doctor, there's a little bit back in your pocket from having that type of insurance service. What about savings? Again, that's crucial if you intend to be able to meet any emergencies that happen or simply enjoy the occasions in life, events and holidays or vacation. So your emergency fund, any periodic expense, holiday vacation, etc. Are you a tither or have to, do you have tuition or homeowners fees to pay? Is there anything that you consider other that would fall in this category? So you've got a true real-time picture of what your fixed expenses are. And again, the flexible ones, those are the ones that can change, whether you're focused on groceries or eating out or a combination of both. What about your cleaning supplies for your home, your laundry, your body, your car, whatever those things are? Clothing and personal transportation, medical care. So you've got doctor's bills and or copays. Any prescriptions? Do you do physical therapy or things to that nature? What about education or recreation? And then gifts and donations. Again, a full, true, real-time picture of where your money goes. Then you want to bring those totals down to this section, and then you'll know of a certainty what the grand total is. Now, your next step is determine whether or not you're living on, above, or within your means of what you make. So what is your total income? Subtract the expenses from that, and you either have surplus or a deficit in what remains. So your total expenses are either less than your income or more than your income. And sometimes it's good to take that true hard look and then make the determination as to what you can, should, and will change to make a difference. And then develop your plan and stick to it by using the calendar. And last week I provided you all the link to purchase that calendar with a suggestion that if a group of you would like to do so, order those through the bookstore in bulk, because there's at least a $10, like a $9.95 shipping charge. And they do come in boxes, I think of 120. So if that kind of helps to round out, if you get at least 120 people, you'll pay for one case. All right, so here we have the flexible and occasional expense chart. And as you can see, they kind of break down what those things could look like: food and supplies, clothing and personal, transportation, medical, education, recreation, gifts and donations. And just in case you're doing a little something that is out of the ordinary for the number of people that they surveyed for this chart, then they give you 3 more. And then of course, the month of February for 2022 only has 28 days. So they didn't take up extra space and leave room for confusion. For each day, you write what you've purchased and then total across for that day. For each category, you write what you purchased, and then there's the total. Now, what did you plan to spend on food and supplies? That goes back to that initial plan that you wrote. And then when you do the math, did you spend more than you planned to, or did you spend less than you planned to? And that total would be here. Here's the one for February. Since you all are getting this particular slideshow, you might be able to print this page. And I also did one for March, since we're halfway through the month of February. And this way it might be a little bit more beneficial to you all to be able to use 2 months worth of this chart. All right, and of course, March has 31 days, so 3 more extra days of tracking and going through the steps. So why do you plan your spending and saving? And we showed you this last week. It reduces the stress. It helps you to know whether you can pay your bills on time. Are you living within your means? Have you learned to avoid debt, or will this be the start of that experience for you? It makes for great record keeping. You don't have to second guess yourself when you tracked it. It also makes it easier for you to measure your progress towards your goals, and it helps to set a good example. Financial planning starts with writing your values and SMART goals, identifying the income, finding all bills and due dates, tracking, writing a plan in the money calendar, remembering what the needs are versus your wants. Stay on track using the calendar, and then plan time to review and make changes for the next month. What are the SMART goals? You'll see the acronym and the explanation in a moment, but just thought this was relevant, that it's a big world out there and it's hard to get where you're going without a roadmap. They say the shortest distance between 2 points, ... actually depends on where the second point is. And just to go back, although we're going in a certain direction, sometimes life has ups and then it has downs. It's got peaks and it's got valleys. And unless you're on the road and it's the right road, you're never really sure which of those is going to come across. So you want to make sure that you understand that the shortest distance between the 2 points really depends on where the second point is. SMART goals, again, are specific, measurable. They're adaptable. They're not written in stone. They're not carved in wood that cannot be changed. They are adaptable, and you have to sometimes say, it was a great idea when I wrote it down, but I need to make some adjustments, and be willing and flexible to do so. Keep them realistic. Yes, I'd love to go to see the Sphinx, but right now, I need the gas just to get to the airport. So I'm not going to just assume I can go outside and I'll be at that place. So let's make it realistic. First, I've got to earn enough money, save enough, and then one day. All right. And are they timely? So something as big as taking a trip to go see the Sphinx would be great. But what do I do in the mean and between time to prepare myself? Am I forsaking what I know I'm responsible to do so that I can make that happen? That's not realistic. So timely means I'm going to plan, and then not only put the plan on paper, but put it in action. So using a SMART goal method helps you when planning for unusual events, large purchases such as a home if you're renting or need to move and expand, or another car, vacations, travel. You've got to think of the lodging, the airfare, the food, tips for any and everyone who may help to make your experience great, home repairs or remodel, appliance purchases. We know that they happen, we just never know when they'll happen. So you want to try and be ready as best as possible. Again, it's your choice. You can spend and enjoy today, or you can save and enjoy tomorrow. I like to say you can do a little bit of both rather than work so hard today that you're saving for tomorrow. But as we know, tomorrow may never come. They say that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. So we want to live in present time. We don't want to stay stuck in our history of mistakes that we may have made, or reminiscing so much on the better things in life that we're not able to move forward. But we also need to make the best of today. So when you're making your plan, don't forget to have enough money set aside for an emergency. It's always recommended 3 to 6 months of major expenses. And as we've gone through the worst, I pray, of COVID, many people learned that that would have been a great thing to have at the time, but a lot of people weren't ready. So going from today moving forward, we need to try and incorporate that practice in our savings plan. Do it automatically from your paycheck to an account of your choice. Most employers now will provide direct deposit, and it's just as easy to put down 2 accounts as it is 1. So if the majority of your paycheck is going to a checking account that you use for your living expenses, that's great. You can separate or designate maybe 25% of your income or whatever dollar amount you can afford to set aside and sort of forget that it's there unless you have to fall back on it for an emergency. Tracking your current behavior. Again, you're going to see a repetition of some of these terms. Listing your monthly bills and amounts. Keep track of your expenses for 1 month just to see where your money is going right now. Do you have a spending diary? I mentioned last week a folded sheet of paper that you can keep with you. It literally fits in your wallet, in a shirt pocket, in your jean pocket, but it's accessible at all times if you choose to use it. Make sure you keep all receipts just in case you didn't write it down right away. When you get in a quiet space in the evening, you can sit down and write that dollar amount on that sheet. Decide the category for each of the expenses that you've already spent the money on, and then write them where they fit. Is it a flexible and occasional expense? Is it a fixed expense? And then write it on the chart in the calendar. So you may not be able to read my somewhat fancy, messy handwriting, but this is the blank sheet of paper that I talked about. It's folded in 8 sections and opened up, and it's labeled or headed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The example earlier showed that the 8th column would just be your totals, but like I said, I would draw like a little line here and put the total that I spent each day. But I also keep this section for, like I said, any income, whether I find $10 on the sidewalk, and I've done that recently, or my son pays me back some of what he owes, wherever that additional income comes in, I might write it there, or the grocery list. To me, this is almost more beneficial than noting here what income I have. Why? Because I always recommend that there are 3 ways that you do not go to the grocery store if you can help it. You don't go hungry. You always go with a list. And if you can leave the kids at home, you'll save a whole lot more money, because when you hit the aisles that have the candy and the cereal, the chips and the snacks, you're destined to see your entire budget blown as long as the kids are with you. So if that's at all possible, keep the list with you. I often at one point had forgotten to bring my sheet of paper with me, but I always have my smartphone. For some reason, it's replaced the American Express logo. Never leave home without it. I don't go anywhere without my cell phone, but I'm always in a store. So in the note section of my phone, I have a running list of the groceries. I went through and I actually categorized the groceries that I buy. And I have it as a checkbox. So whenever I need to buy groceries or I'm in the store and I'm actually getting it, I put a check in the box that lets me know it's in supply now and I don't have to have it. When I'm running low and I'm about to go to the store, I'll uncheck that box so that I know it's time to make that purchase. And that has really worked very well for me. It keeps me on target with what I'm purchasing. This page that you see says number 45, so this is coming directly out of the calendar, but it's the notes section. And I think I mentioned last week, many people will put, phone numbers or things to that nature. This would be, at least it's worked for me this way, that from January to December, I know I've got 3 grandkids' birthdays in January, 1 in February, mine and my youngest son in March, my oldest son in April. I mean, I just go down the list and I know the amount that I want to gift to them and even on my birthday to spend on myself. So if I started this in December, I knew I had 12 months of planning to do at least from December to December, whatever event happens at that point. So I knew in January, I just needed to either have started sooner or bite the bullet, and whatever amount I'm going to gift to those 3 grandkids in January, that's coming out of January's funds, et cetera, et cetera. But if you started, say in September, and you've planned all the way through to December of this year, you knew you had not just January 2, but you had September through December as well. And you count the number of months after you total those expenses, and then you divide it by the number of months that you have. And that's the even amount that you would save or set aside to be able to make sure that you and anyone that you're gifting to or celebrating with can enjoy during and after that particular event. So here's how we're going to organize the calendar. I mentioned last week that maybe if it were your expenses, you write them in red. Well, you would write them in red so that it stands out that this is something I've got to pay attention to. If it's your payday, write it in green. It kind of it draws your attention a little bit better. It kind of lightens your day going into the job knowing that this is payday for some. And then if you had to pay your utilities such as cable or whatever, you could see it at a glance and know that it's time to pay attention. You've got some flexible expenses listed here, like your haircut, the groceries each Saturday, even a ball game is listed here. You want to make sure you pay that phone bill and your utilities on time. And you know that your rent is either due on the 1st through whatever day it's not late, and then whatever day is considered late, you've got to put that plus whatever that amount is. So let's not get into the habit of seeing the late rent, right? Okay. And then you know exactly what you're looking at when you see the calendar. So again, just as with the fixed and flexible and occasional chart, I've also given you the calendar for February and for March. And so here, of course, they list out the various holidays, but now it's on you to fill in what your paydays are, what your due dates are, and how much, so that you can see it at a glance. Here's the beautiful thing about this is once you've completed this and you've made the payments, what are your totals the whole month at a glance? What were your fixed expenses? And then this month's results. What was your actual income? What were your actual fixed expenses? Subtract the expenses from the income. You've got a subtotal here. Now, what about the flexible expenses from the chart? And as you look at the calendar, if you haven't seen it yet, I just did with my copy, but when you open it up, at the top above the calendar, rather than pictures of cute, kittens and puppies, you've got sometimes the ugly truth about those flexible and occasional expenses. And you just bring those totals down to this section here. Now you're doing the math, the actual, the fixed, there's your subtotal. What are those flexible? And then did you save any money this month, or did you overspend? Are there any goals that you want to write in here that you can carry forward for March, April, or May? If you want to plan for your quarterly, these note spots are awesome to help you do that. And then, of course, the University of Florida has given you a little bit of savings tips and how you can actually get additional assistance. Same thing here with March. So using the monthly calendar, you can almost use it like a folder, whether you staple the bills to the month or, just kind of paper clip them so you can easily access what's behind them. But place the bills in the calendar booklet for safekeeping. Depending on your method of payment, plan to pay your bill at least 2 to 3 days in advance, especially if you're still writing checks and using snail mail. But if you're using electronic, either automatic debit, even if they wait to take it out on the day it's due, it could still take 24 to 48, sometimes 72 hours if it's weekend or holiday falling in there before you actually see it register in your online banking. So you just want to make sure that your mindset says on the 15th or on the 28th or whatever day it's due, it's going to be taken out, and you do the math up front. You can match up the timing of your income with the timing of your expenses. And it's okay to talk to your creditors, your lenders, the vendors that you may owe, to say, okay, my pay dates have changed, I changed my job, or I need an extension, and they will grant it. It may cost you a little bit extra, but especially if you do it on a regular basis, once or twice every 6 months to a year, they're okay with that because they also understand that life happens and things change. Now, you have to ask yourself, do you have a cash flow problem? If you do, ask to change the due dates. And if you can, try and save a little bit of the money from the previous month to help you to meet that goal so that you don't have to continue to make those date changes. With any plan, you must be flexible enough and stern enough to say, let's review, and it may be necessary to revise. So add up the amounts in your flexible expense column. Do all the math with regard to what income you had versus what expenses you spent, and then ask yourself, did you go over or did you spend less than you budgeted, and fix that. Add up the fixed expenses and then add the fixed and flexible together, subtract the total amount from the income. Did you stay within your plan? Did you save the money you needed for the occasional expenses? You'll know that you did because the night of the expense or the event or the vacation, when it's over, you sleep so much more soundly knowing that you haven't upset the plan, your spending plan or your budget for the days, the weeks, and the months ahead. We talked again about increasing income and some of the resources that may be available, a second job. Instead of saying ask for a raise, I would say, negotiate. That seems like a little bit better terminology, especially if you've been putting in the performance and you feel that it warrants a raise. You may not get the one you asked for, but aim high. They say if you aim for the moon and miss, you still fall among the stars. So you may not get the exact amount you asked for, but surely they can see that your work warrants at least a bump in pay. So, or if necessary, and please, University of Florida Shands, don't think that I'm trying to get rid of any of your employees by saying this, but if it's necessary, find a better paying job. Family members in the home who are old enough, get a job, babysit, dog walk, things to that nature. I'm from the Midwest, so this time of year when the snow is falling, many children are out knocking on doors asking if the residents would like their snow shoveled, their sidewalk shoveled, or in the fall when the leaves are on the ground and in the grass and yard, they'll come by with their rakes and bags, and for a few dollars, they'll clean the yard. Or in the summertime, help an elderly person transport their groceries from the cart to the car, things to that nature. Anything is possible to earn a little bit. It's all in how you see it. Again, we talked about increasing income, getting new licenses, degrees, or certifications. Of course, this may require you spending money to make more money. It's just considered an investment in yourself. The personal exemptions, withholding from your paychecks, that comes from the W-4 form. of course, that you fill out with your HR department. Note that the bigger the number, the higher the number that you submit, the fewer taxes are withheld. And this is a potential for a balance due when you file your income tax return. So if at all possible, lower the number so that they take out as much tax as they can with each pay period. And that could result in either you breaking even at tax filing or receiving a refund. Tax deductions also can build on whether you owe or how much less you'll owe. If you're eligible for the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, and the emphasis is on earned income. Any dependent care, if you're paying for child care or elder care for someone in your home, you may be eligible to receive that credit. You can also save by getting your taxes prepared or amending any previous tax returns for free with RealSense. And if you hover your phone over this bit.ly, it'll open the site that allows you to schedule an appointment with RealSense. What about decreasing your expenses, reducing or eliminating what you spend on wants? Surely it's nice to be able to eat out 3 to 4 days a week because it means you don't have to cook or clean up after. But still, the amount of money that it takes to buy a meal for 4 at a fast food restaurant could potentially buy you 3 to 5 days worth of groceries at home. So consider whether or not the want for the instant gratification is worth it. All right, learn to do it yourself, whether it is minor repairs in the home. And I'm not recommending that if you've never seen the inside of your circuit breaker box, I'm not recommending you learn how to rewire anything, but those things that you can do yourself. It wouldn't hurt to open YouTube and look at a video 2 or 3 times to determine if that's a project you want to tackle. Barter or trade services. Maybe you do have an electrical or plumbing issue that you don't want to tackle yourself, but you know a neighbor or a friend who can do that. Barter or trade service. If they'll do the service for you, you'll cook a meal for them and their family. I don't know, whatever you think that could balance out for the two of you so that you can get it done and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. Modify or reduce your flexible spending. Again, that's with grocery shopping, how you utilize your electric and water. Carpooling, you can tell this is a rather old slide because I'm not sure how many people still carpool, especially with the COVID issue and the 6 feet social distancing. But if that's still an option for you, carpool, and then limit the number of times you eat out. And can you change your fixed expenses? I think we mentioned that last week, whether it is refinancing the car at a lower rate, getting less premium for your insurances. There are ways that it can be changed, but you would have to determine what works best for you, because sometimes the lower payment each month might extend the length of the loan or the expense that you have. So you also want to check for spending leaks. Do you compare prices? I also do a couponing workshop, and with that, we talk about the cost of name brand versus no name or generic. If you're a great cook, you can make almost anything taste restaurant quality, right? So whether it's Del Monte, Dole, or a generic version, the amount of seasonings that you use will make or break that that meal. So whether you're buying Green Giant corn in a can or generic corn in the can. It really depends on you as the cook. So it might be worth comparing the prices. Or if you're just one of those, I've tried them all and I don't care, I like Green Giant, then go for Green Giant, stay with Green Giant, but find a way to balance out the price in some other instant. Use advertising to your advantage, or do you give in to it? That's interesting because we talk also about one particular store that you'll walk in and you'll see signs everywhere, 10 for $10. And it's usually on canned goods, 10 for $10, which is great. It simply means $1 for each can that I buy. But if you look on the shelf prior to and after that so-called sale, they're normally only 79 cents a can. So are they really doing you a favor? I don't think so. So you want to, kind of think about that. Do you think ahead about your needs? I'm kind of a bulk buyer when it comes to things like toilet paper and paper towels and, my toiletries and things like that. Also with my laundry care, I'm always a bigger bulk buyer because I know that there are times when if I have it now, let me go ahead and buy it versus I'll wait 3 days, I could use it then, but something happens and the money's not there. I don't want to juggle and get the wrong thing. So I think ahead about that. That's my preference. And so it fits my needs, but it is my preference at the same time. Do you take care of what you own? That simply means, are you getting the full life from the appliances that you buy? Are you doing your regular oil changes and tune-ups and things to that nature? You want to make sure that you are. Small expenses add up. We talked about this and I won't go back into much detail, but I just like the graphic that this calendar provides. How much do you spend each week on little stuff? And you can see that it adds up. Lunch out, $5 a day, 3 times a week equals $60 a month. And you can just see how those totals add up. We also talked about how much should we spend on food, housing, etc. So that graphic I just want to leave in there. And we were talking about dividing the amount you spend by the amount you take home. So if your rent is $450 divided by the $1,200 for the income, that's 37.5%. Multiply your answer by 100, so 37.5%. And the amount of housing that you should spend is between 32 and 42%. All right, again, we talked about changing your plan, sitting down with everyone in the family at the table to see how you all can either come up with great plans to save or to each of you gain an understanding of what is important with regard to spending. And then your end of year totals, I'm going to show you a picture in a second. Enter those totals in the fixed and flexible categories where you over or under, calculate your average monthly amounts for the year, and then use next year's calendar to start all over again. Enter any tax deductible expenses on the back cover of the calendar. You can contact the UF Extension office at this number and ask for a calendar. You can also try and download calendar software. You can try something like Mint, and then PowerPay is one option that tells you exactly how you can break down your large cost expenses. You're paying on your student loan debt. They'll show you how to take the one that has the highest interest rate and is costing you the most each month, that it's unpaid, and how you can pay those things down. Here is the total for the year. They started again with September for the previous year. So if you're here at February, go back and do January's if you can. If not, we're here in February, start with February and work your way through. And just see what it looked like for the year 2022 and make your plan for 2023. Income tax updates, here's some information. And again, everyone suggests, file for free. And that's using the IRS to show you where you can file for free. Or again, United Way Real Sense is amazing at doing what they do. We've come to the end of our presentation. If you would please Pop in the chat your responses to the evaluation as always. And any questions or suggestions in your chat? And I'm just going to, Karan, if I could trouble you again for the chat as we did last week, that would be awesome. Each week, I thank you all for coming. Next week will be week 4. We've got one more after that. Next week's topic is building and rebuilding good credit. I hope again that something was said that you all can hold on to and use, or even share with someone who could have benefited but was not able to be here today. Thank you all so very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Ms. Karan. If you could send me the chat again, I'd appreciate it.